Tyler, you look rattled, man. Rattled. What's going on here?
Not rattled, just a little disappointed.
Why is that, Ty?
The Suns let it go. The Suns let a game go today.
Welcome to the Bench Mob, third episode. We're sitting here in the midst of a terrible defeat tonight at the hands of the Los Angeles Clippers, beating the Phoenix Suns 112-108 in a game where Phoenix led by 16 points at a certain point in the third quarter and just let it slip away.
Not a great night for the Suns, but I'm not as well as me as these guys are, because going into this game, I had this chalked up as a loss. Suns had a chance to steal one, but overall, I expected them to lose this game anyway, so I'm not as disheartened as you guys.
Even though it was a pretty well-rounded team effort, 8 guys from the Suns getting into double digits. PJ Tucker with a double-double.
Mook and Keith
hanging out, man.
That's Marcus and Markieff Morris.
Yes, these are our affectionate nicknames. We will explain them in a later episode.
Book.
Yeah, a later episode, because it's going to take a little while to explain it all.
Yeah, it is.
One thing I liked from the Suns, for sure, is that they weren't intimidated by the Clippers' big men. Not that either of them are necessarily known as the best defensive players. DeAndre Jordan's defensive reputation is a little bit inflated, but Miles Plumlee had a very effective game, 6 for 7 from the field, 13 points, 7 rebounds, had an overall very nice showing. And Eric Bledsoe's a guy who I was really liking how he played for the Suns. He's come back, hasn't quite been 100% yet, but tonight he's really attacking the basket, and I think playing his old team kind of energized him, and he did a really good job of, again, repeatedly getting to the rim and finding creative ways to finish.
I think it energized him a little too much, though, because he had 5 turnovers at the end.
I think, yeah, it showed.
A bad shot at the end of the game.
Yes, I think this game kind of showed that we are inexperienced for the most part. A lot of these guys haven't had a lot of serious playing time, certainly not in big key games coming down the stretch. And we just got a little excited, and it showed when in the fourth quarter we got doubled up on points, 34-17 in the fourth quarter. You really can't have that when you're trying to sneak into the playoffs. And like Tones was saying earlier, we're coming down the stretch. He marked this game as a loss, but we only have 2 home games left.
Mm-hmm.
We figured we needed to win 2 or 3 of those home games.
Yeah.
And now the remaining 2 are against the Thunder.
Now we
and
have
the
to win those. I would have felt a lot better had we won this game.
Yeah.
We would have had a game up on the Mavericks for the 8th seed.
Right.
Now we're back tied.
I agree with you that as a Suns fan, I would feel better with this team moving forward had they won tonight, but I'm not. They're still tied with the Grizzlies and Mavericks with a game left with each of them. The Mavericks game, if the Suns can win, they would gain the tiebreaker advantage, which is huge. It's going to be a tough game in Dallas, but they definitely still have a shot to win that one. They're all tied. Grizzlies, Mavericks, Suns, all tied up. I saw a tweet earlier that the Suns played themselves, with the loss tonight, played themselves out of the playoff spot. I completely disagree. They still have a fighter's chance at this.
They're literally tied with the 7th and 8th seeds right now, so they have a very good chance. Obviously, a tough schedule down the stretch. This is a team that all season has been very, very good at home. Only 19 and 17 on the road, and they play a couple of tough road teams, so we're going to see if they can make the playoffs.
We're all hoping. We're all hoping.
All right, enough of this, Suns. I read an article today on ESPN Insider that this draft class might be the worst draft class of all
just
time.
For clarification, we're referring to the 2013 to 2005.
Right, last year's draft class.
The current rookies.
The current rookies.
Yes.
In terms of WARP, which is wins above replacement player, this is the first draft since 2001 where the entire draft, where this year's rookies have brought the league down from the previous season.
To put this in perspective, sorry to cut you off there, Tonus. Let me read you guys the first 5 picks from the respective drafts and tell me who do you think, which team of 5 would win.
The worst WARP ever was by the 2000 draft class. Here is the first 5 picks.
The first 5: Kenyon Martin to the New Jersey Nets, Stromile Swift to the Vancouver Grizzlies.
He was athletic before people realized he didn't know how to play basketball.
Darius Miles to the Los Angeles Clippers, Marcus Fizer to the Chicago Bulls, and Mike Miller, NBA champion Mike Miller, to the Orlando Magic. And now for the 2013 NBA Draft.
Mike
First
Miller,
5
he
picks.
has the shirtless 45 3-pointers in a row video.
Yes.
And now we have Anthony Bennett, first overall pick this year to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Victor Oladipo to the Orlando Magic. Otto Porter to the Washington Wizards.
Yikes.
Cody Zeller to the Charlotte Bobcats. And Alex Len to your own Phoenix Suns.
I think the bad sign for this draft was that the number 1 pick had more breathing disorders than the number that he was picked. Sleep apnea. That's the number 1 takeaway from Anthony Bennett so far.
That's an interesting take
that
on
being
it.
said, I think Anthony Bennett had taken a little
It's a
bit too
nice
much
stat.
criticism.
I think you'll get to hear that stat here on the bench.
That's unique.
Bob.
Yeah, he was injured over the summer, didn't get to play in summer league. I think he's a guy that once he develops his offensive game, never going to be a guy who plays huge minutes, but could be a very nice bench guy on a contender.
Yeah.
No, I agree
Very offensive game.
that it's too early to hate on this rookie class too much, especially with what I think is going to be my favorite player from the rookie class, Nerlens Noel. Haven't played in a game yet. I think he's going to be a force inside. And I think with him coming back and players getting more time, this class is going to be
Just to give you a quick look at the wins above replacement player, the 2001 draft was approximately minus 17,
yeah.
I
This one's
believe.
minus 3.3.
And minus 3.3. That means this draft has brought the wins of the league down by 3.3.
I think that this draft cast gets a lot of hate because people were sort of, I don't know, where they were looking for like a potential franchise player, but I think that this draft class has actually given us a lot of solid role players, guys like Victor Oladipo, Ben McLemore for the Sacramento Kings. McLemore, sorry,
Like the rapper.
Michael Carter Williams, Steven
Rashard
Adams,
Lewis,
Kelly
Cisco
Olynyk, Shabazz Muhammad, Giannis, Tim Hardaway Jr.
Kelly Olynyk.
And guys such as that. Even Ryan Kelly, all the way in the 48th pick to Los
He's a
Angeles
treasure.
Lakers.
So we're gonna out of this quote unquote terrible draft class, there has to be a rookie of the year.
There has to.
There has to. That's just a rule.
Just because of the writing of the rule. Not for any other merit-based reasons.
Who is the rookie of the year?
Gavin, you want to start us off?
All right, I'm going to go with Victor Oladipo. He's an incredibly athletic two-guard, and I thought going to the draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers, despite slight positional overlap, he should have been the first overall pick in the draft. He's someone who, coming out of college, the rep was that he was an incredible athlete. Didn't know if he'd ever really develop point guard skills, and I don't think he necessarily has to be a point guard. He's tall enough and athletic enough to play that 2 spot, and good enough defensively, frankly. But Orlando, trying to tank this year, has played him at the point, and he's done a pretty good job in that position, averaging just around over 4 assists on the year, over 4 rebounds a game, 14 points. Really varied player, and I think as he develops his offensive game, his athleticism is going to take over, and he's going to end up being the best player from this rookie class, and is already the best player from this rookie class.
All right, Tyler, what are you thinking?
Well, I'm torn. I'd like to say Tim Hardaway Jr. has the brightest future of the rookie class, but I'm going to have to go with Trey Burke just based on purely this year. I think he's pretty much the only bright spot that is the blemish of the Utah Jazz.
Gordon Hayward.
Well,
Come on.
His shooting percentages have gone down.
League of Legends All-Star, Gordon Hayward.
I really like the way Trey Burke runs the point. He's averaging 5.3 assists, which isn't terrible, but for his rookie year, it's pretty decent. 12.5 points a game, and it's only going to go up for Trey Burke.
Well, I'm a big Sabermetrics fan for baseball, and I like how it's being switched over to basketball. Not many people have embraced it yet, but the Sabermetrics are telling me that the rookie of the year is Mason Plumlee, the rich man Plumlee. Mason Plumlee leads all rookies in WARP with the WARP of 2.8, win shares with 3.5, and player efficiency rating of 17.9.
Oh, you forgot one.
What?
Having his life destroyed by Gerald Green.
That's true. He leads the all rookies
the rookie
in
class.
that as well. Mason is averaging only 6.8 points and 4.2 rebounds as a bench player for.
How many games has he played this season? I'm just curious.
I'll look that up for you, John.
He was hurt for a little while.
He was.
He was hurt for
He's
the majority
played.
of the season. That's fine.
This is not really telling me.
I just have
He's played 61 games.
61 games. Interesting.
So a majority of their season. He's been a solid role player for a contender in the East, and
He's certainly beaten his brother every time you've seen him.
Well, yes.
head-to-head matchup.
Rookie sophomore game was particularly
Yeah.
dominant. Oh no, now it's called the Rising Stars game. I'm sorry.
It's the same thing. But yeah, Mason Plumlee, he won't win purely because he doesn't have the raw numbers, but in terms of efficiency and sabermetrics statistics, that is who it's telling should win Rookie of the Year.
I'm going to go with the guy that I mentioned earlier. He's the number 11 pick to the Philadelphia 76ers, Michael Carter-Williams, right out of Syracuse University.
Newhouse.
Averaging 17.
Don't think so.
Right around 17 points per game, and also six rebounds a game, quite interesting, and 6 assists. Player efficiency rating of 14.73, not quite as high as Mr. Plumlee, but pretty darn close.
He is second in WARP, wins above replacement for all rookies with a WARP of 2.7. Tyler, who is your pick again? Trey Burke?
Yeah.
Trey Burke has a WARP of 0.9, and Gavin Victor Oladipo is at 1.9.
Interesting. The reason why I'm going with Michael Carter-Williams is because he really is the lone bright spot on the 76ers. And not only that, we haven't seen
the current
of the
76ers.
Yes, the current edition. But anyways, we haven't seen some stats early in the year said that we haven't seen a stat line of 17, 6, and 6, or at least some sort of that, since a certain guy named Irvin Magic Johnson all the way back in.
Are you seriously comparing Michael Carter-Williams to Magic Johnson?
I'm not comparing them in terms of skill.
The rest of the bench mob can't endorse that.
In terms of statistics,
Norcan Fireside.
I'm only telling you what the screen's showing me here. I'm not saying in terms of
he
skill.
He did go on a tear at the beginning.
He went on a tear in the beginning of the year, and he's still averaging around.
I'd just like to point out his stats are super inflated from the fact that Philadelphia has no one else on that team, and even though that probably hurts the assist numbers, he controls the ball so much more than any other rookie. Mm-hmm. That's going to inflate his stats, and also Philadelphia plays much faster than a lot of other teams, which inevitably gives them more opportunities to compile stats.
And give up a lot of points.
Carter-Williams also averages around four turnovers, actually, so that's also interesting.
It's not a terrible number for someone on that bad.
And speaking of that inflation, that also applies to turnovers, so there's a positive take.
Also, he could work on his three-point shooting, which right now sits at a lowly 26%.
And he did have that opening game where he just eviscerated the Heat and almost had a quadruple-double, which is pretty amazing.
Fond memories for 76ers fans.
That's
the only one.
Definitely the highlight of the season. It was all downhill.
I really think that the 76ers are poised to, with this current draft class, really build a team for the future.
The majority of them in the second round, granted. But,
yeah.
But
Aaron,
then,
Aaron Kraft.
And
it's the guy they need.
I don't know. There's potential in Philadelphia. Don't give up hope.
Yeah. And now we're going to move on from all this rookie talk. We're going to move into one of our favorite segments, second edition of Over Underrated.
Rookie edition. First player we're going to mention here, talked about him earlier, the number 5 pick to the Phoenix Suns, Mr. Alex Len. Over or underrated, guys? Anyone can step up.
Okay. I think he's underrated because, hear me out, doesn't know the game of basketball yet. He's still learning.
That's what you're looking for in your number 4 pick.
Number 5.
He's still learning. He needs to maybe bulk up or learn how to shoot a jump shot, one or the other. But he has his ceiling right now is pretty high. He's a big guy. He plays aggressively with heart. I've seen him get into fights with people. He cares about the game.
Namely Swaggy P.
And that's a pretty tall order, if you ask me, for people.
Tyler,
what are the chances that Alex Len stole his Yeezys?
Yeah, so I'm saying Alex Len is underrated purely based on potential.
So Tyler, you're telling me that Alex Len either needs to add a lot of weight or learn a basic skill that basketball players should learn very early on.
No. We watched a basketball game tonight where not a single big man would shoot a jump shot.
Blake Griffin.
Well, Blake Griffin tried,
but he didn't go.
Channing Frye went 4 for 8.
Okay, with the exception of Channing Frye.
All right,
but Alex Len doesn't have the post moves yet, so he's not going to be able to develop that. Which to do that, he needs to bulk up a little bit. He needs to learn how to shoot a mid-range jumper.
Jeff Hornacek has shown a clear he is looking into the mind of Jeff Hornacek from the 200 levels at U.S. Airways Center. We can see that he does not trust Alex Len at all.
No, it's true. He likes to go to a man named Shavlik Randolph more frequently.
His real name is Ronald.
Friend of the podcast.
Graduate
Shavlik Randolph.
He likes me.
Alex Len, from the beginning of the season, when we were looking at what he is severely overrated. At this point in the year, we have such low expectations for Alex Len, he might have slipped into the underrated category by default. Because we have learned that Alex...
But remember that game against Boston, in Boston, where he saved our skins to get that win?
Yes.
Yeah.
I fell in love a little bit with Alex Len.
And to be fair, he was also injured early in the year, so we couldn't really see
Quick
what he was
fun
made
fact
of.
about Alex Len. Will Chamberlain in one game has scored more points than Alex Len has scored in his entire career. Currently his averages of 2.2 points, 2.4 rebounds. All that being said, I think I actually have to lean towards Tyler's side in this argument. The guy hasn't played a lot. They obviously drafted him because at the University of Maryland, being 7'1" is a ticket to being an NBA draft pick. That much is clear. He was known for being able to finish with two hands and having somewhat limited range that clearly hasn't carried over to the NBA. But I don't want to totally give up on the guy yet. Obviously, this draft class is full of developmental guys that, and most of them aren't going to pan out, but a couple will. Maybe that'll be Alex Len. Probably not. But
you never know.
Probably.
And you know what?
Yeah.
If Ryan McDonough drafted him, have some faith.
Yeah.
Ryan McDonough.
And the guy's shown that he knows.
Also, consider this, listening audience. The current Suns roster includes post players such as Channing Frye, Miles Plumlee, Shavlik Randolph, and Alex Len.
Unfortunately, no longer Slava.
He doesn't have anyone to learn from.
Well,
Rest in
he
peace,
doesn't have anyone to learn
Slava
from, but he definitely has room to take the starting center spot. It may be in
until they trade up for Embiid.
A 2 or 3 year window, maybe. Anyways, we're going to move on to our next player here, Ben McLemore of the Sacramento Kings. I got it right this time.
All right. Overrated rap artist, underrated basketball player.
Interesting.
I have an opposite opinion.
But anyway, we'll get to that. Tony, you first.
McLemore has been stuck in purgatory with the Sacramento Kings this season, along the lines of Trey Burke in Utah and other rookies that are stranded in points of no return.
But the Kings have Boogie, Rudy Gay, and an improved Isaiah Thomas. I mean, they're not exactly desolate, but
right. It's not as hopeless as Utah, but it's not a choice destination for NBA free agents. They have Rudy Gay, who's shooting many more times than his skill level deserves.
But since he's been traded, he's really improved the Sacramento Kings team and the Toronto Raptors by default by leaving because now they're in the playoff and now they're locked to the third seed.
Don't you just love when it's addition by subtraction for a guy who takes high volume shots? That's great. But Ben McLemore, I mean, as a young player, he's no one had the highest opinion of him out of school, but he's proven himself to be a viable NBA option as of now, and I think the sky's the limit for him. He's an athletic guy, and he's playing on a team that he doesn't have to be the number one option for right now, and I think he can learn to take those reins.
Right, well, I think his limit is much below the sky. Put it somewhere in the Taylor Place range. Right now, he averages 8 points, 2.5 rebounds, and I've been, you could say, fortunate or misfortunate enough to watch the Kings twice this season, and McLemore just never really looked very aggressive. He had the same problem at Kansas. He'd have incredible games, something that Andrew Wiggins has kind of struggled with at Kansas as well, not comparing the two. I think Wiggins is going to be much better. But anyways, with McLemore, it's just inconsistent, being aggressive, and he's coming in, and like the one thing was he was hyped as just an incredible three-point shooter, only shooting 32% from the three-point line. He's only 21. He'll definitely get better. I think he's a viable NBA player. Just initially in his first couple games at Kansas, he was potentially hyped as like the one guy in this draft who could be a near all-star, and I don't see that ever happening.
Well, I think after those 2 games, he's really come back down to earth in terms of expectation. No one is looking to him as the savior of the 2013 NBA draft.
Any final remarks, Mr. Prime, on this player?
You know, I think he's going to be a good role player. I don't think he's ever going to be a superstar in this league, but I think he's going to be around and have a decent, respectable career. So that's my opinion on
Now we're going to move on to our last player, all the way from Greece, Mr. Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'm not sure if I pronounced that.
That's all announcers across the NBA are asking the same thing.
Yes, but
Charles Barkley does, but he won't tell us.
More affectionately known as the Greek Freak. I'm going to chime in here. I think he's underrated because he plays on the Bucks, first of all, but he also played. I've also read numerous articles on the kid. From what I can gather, he's a good kid with a good heart. He has the hugest hands I've ever seen on an NBA player. He can leap out of the gym. He's slowly improving his free throw percentage. And I feel like he has the potential to be. I'm gonna just dub him right here, Baby Durant, because of the way his body, the way the man looks. You can see the differences. Sort of small torso and chest,
to be fair, Scott Brooks himself,
extremely long limbs and appendages.
I'm 90% sure this was Scott Brooks. He actually said just when after watching, I'm just gonna call him Greek Freak. He actually He compared him a little bit to Durant, just as far as body type and athleticism. I don't think he'll ever be the shooter, scorer,
that's exactly
or
what
varied offensive game that Kevin Durant has.
Future ex-Thunder head coach.
That being said, I think at this point for his actual production is a little bit overrated. He's played quite more minutes than he probably should because the Bucks are horrible. But averages around 7 points, 4 rebounds. You guys, those were as of a couple weeks ago. You guys can correct me if the stats are more updated now. But he's a guy definitely incredibly athletic, and you see flashes of someone who could be really good. And as everyone has said, if the draft was redone, it was either him or MC Dub would have been the top pick in the draft. He's someone with, I think, who you could say the sky is the limit because he's just so athletic, and just even from a skill perspective, he has certain plays where you can see that he really has the makings of potentially an NBA All-Star. I think highest upside of anyone in this draft, other than MC Dub and Oladipo, are right in that same area code.
See, I think because of the hype that he's gotten, by virtue of the stats he's produced this year, not saying that he won't improve, I think he's a little overrated as of right now.
I agree with him.
Just because of how Grantland has blown this kid up to be the next coming of whatever.
It's because of all the stories about him. Apparently when he got a tech the other time, he was fine with it, and then one of his teammates told him it was a $2,000 fine, and he went up to the ref and got on his hands and knees and started begging for the ref.
Who was it? Was it him who had a teammate throw away a pair of sneakers after a game?
No, Caron Butler was. I believe it was Caron Butler was throwing away a pair of sneakers
when he was still in the Bucks. Yeah.
And Giannis went over to him, took the shoes and said, No, these are shoes.
These are still shoes. These are still shoes. Why are you throwing these away? Anyways, just one small note for the audience. This guy is 6'9", has a wingspan of over 7 feet.
He's still growing, by the way.
And he's still growing, and he plays shooting guard on this team.
His doctor said, I forgot what the term was, but he essentially had the growing, the growing characteristics of a 16-year-old.
And the guy prior to this was playing in the Greek League, D-League, not even the main
the main Greek. Oh boy,
not even where Josh Childress played.
So
NBA legend.
So he's coming from very little, and
the bane of the Suns roster, Josh Childress. But yeah, by virtue of the stats now, what the hype machine that has driven him, he's overrated as of now. Not saying that he won't be a great player, but as of this moment, his hype is far superior to what he is doing in the league. Tyler, what say you?
The guy's a freak, and agree with that.
Thanks, Tyler.
Solid.
All right, guys. We're going to wrap up here. We all have essays to do and stuff to do over the next few days. We're going to leave you with just a nice farewell. Any final shout-outs, guys?
Shout out to the Greek Freak.
Shout out to Ryan McDonough. We know you listen, and you too, Michael Bloom. Shout out.
This is how he spends all of his Wednesday and Thursday nights.
Shout out to Chris Paul's.
Or they not?
Shout out to Chris Paul's 4-point play for really killing us in the first quarter.
He said to go to the locker room early.
All right, then. I'm going to shout out Mr. Kobe Bean Bryant, not because of the man he is.
Yeah, you're not biased at all.
I'm not biased at all. But earlier in the week, there was an article printed in the Marianas Variety that said that Mr. Kobe Bean Bryant has retired from the NBA to join the Guam men's national team.
Wow,
And to-
that's a big
and
signing for Guam.
To quote the men's
April
national,
Fools.
to quote the men's
he's quite
coach,
at that level yet.
according to the article, the men's coach said, "I love Kobe, but he's still gonna have to earn a roster spot."
Oh yeah, right.
Sadly enough,
John, I think
there
you
were
could
people.
walk onto that organization.
There were people that believed it, but it was an April Fool's.
Anyways.
We love you, Kobe Bean.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
I love you.
Another episode. See you guys next week, Scrubs. And yeah.
Stay base. Base world. Shout out to Lil B.